Welcome to the Out There channel, live stream 368. Hopefully this goes alright. See there's some niggles with the software again. It's always changing with Windows 10. Okay, it looks like it's working there. So, will I be alone? Apparently I'm the lone alien. The only alien that's alone on a UFO channel. The frauds will be frauds. They like to spread the fake news that everybody's abandoning me. Unfortunately for them, it's not the case. We're getting lots of new subs coming in, probably 500 views or more a day, I'd say, across all the alt medias, mostly on BitChute. I think if you combine all my channels out there, I'm probably got more subs than GUFON. Probably about 2,900. So how's it going out there? We'll wait for people to show up. Like I said, I do these randomly now, so I do it when it suits me, rather than have to suit it with UK times and American times. Hello, good to be back. I'll be back. So no hardcore swearing on the side if you do join me. No promoting 4 channels that we debunk on a regular basis. And just have a bit of fun and enjoy the show, I guess. Got a bit of a mixture of stories and hopefully video analysis or debunks, which is needed to have balance in ufology because 99% of it is junk out there. So I better type up the welcome message. Says we've got one watching. The lone pinky alien. OT live stream. We'll be up to 400 before we know it. 368. So I'll just call this one Killing the Noise and just work through it. Not too sure what everything I've got queued up in tabs. Bit of Moon, bit of Mars, bit of Antarctica, bit of everything really. Killing the Noise, part 6 probably. Some UFO cases. So I'm probably re-looking at some of the Welsh UFO cases and comparing it to some other similar sightings that occurred in the same year, I think, that I noticed. It's good to do a recap. I'll get my words right eventually. So who's out there? Just say hello on the side and we know if you're friendly or not. Yes, it's not good to block people, but you know, if people want to cause disruption inside, then they have to be blocked, you know. Why can't they just sit and listen for once instead of just downvote everything, you know? So as you know, I've had my own experiences, and although I haven't seen a UFO, well, I've seen a light in the sky, like everybody normally sees lights in the sky, which you think is a plane or a satellite, but didn't go in the right direction, and it seemed to be going too fast. So who knows, you know? And before the International Space Station was up there, years ago, before we had the apps, would have been good to have smartphones, I guess, back in the old days. How's the audio sound out there? I better just do a sound check here because I'm by myself. I can't hear any crackle, so that's alright. Yeah, so I started up the minicam software, but my control panel that kicks off the intro wasn't working, and I thought that's really weird. But it was very slow starting up for some reason. But I closed it down and restarted it, and it seemed to fix the problem. It must be a bug in the software, that if it hangs on something, it doesn't start up properly. So let's get on with this show. So we got GUFON here first up, probably. Pushing Mars anomalies, moon anomalies from 4 channels out there. And he's not the only one. It's been going on for a few years now. What's that, 2012? So I'll just play a few clips on that and bring up Google Earth at the same time. I'll just bring it up. So it'll be like a random order thing. So it'll be a mixed bag. It'll probably be some video analysis, then to UFO cases. I haven't got it in order. Yesterday I went to the hospital to get my eyes sorted. So I've got to go back in 2 months again if they keep to the appointments. I thought I clicked on it, but it's not starting up. Okay, so the first one is 4 tanks guarding a crashed UFO. So that's the first topic. I don't think I've covered this one before. Covered many others in Antarctica. And they only show a certain year. And why can't I see it there? That should be there. So they got the base down here. Looks like there's a symbol there for planes, is it? Is it there or not? Have I got another setting turned on? Let me just... there we go. Obviously it was the wrong year. So they show up in 2011. Remember that's the year where lots of things happened. Where the Mojo video, where there was a lot of activity of UFOs over the water where he lived in Oregon. That was his year for the amazing footage that he captured. So apparently these are tanks. I'll just play the clips I've got here from various channels under fair use, so I can criticize them and their ridiculous claims. So that's a year after someone spotted it on Google Earth, like they always do. Let me just see. So it's near the base called McMurdo, which is, we zoom out, should be in this direction near the ocean. I don't know if it's listed. I think it's down here somewhere. It's a good question. I think it's here somewhere. I think it's in the video anyway. Looks like a load of buildings there. That's probably the base there, is it? Heaps of buildings there, right? Oil things, ports. That must be it there, I'd say. Near the ocean for some reason. Maybe it gets less snow there. Then it looks like it's got some sort of road system going out this way. And of course, They can have a strip of runway anywhere, really. What they do is they send down C-130s, right, from New Zealand. So I've lost where I was. I'll just click on that again. There we go, zooming out. Oh, that's slightly up. You can see it's in shadow there. Why is it in shadow? Not too sure. Maybe it was overcast. I can't see any clouds though. Maybe the time of day that they took the snapshot. You can see there it's nice and white, but here looks grey for some reason. But yeah, apparently these are tanks. So let's have a listen to the clip and go from there. Hey, Area 51, how's it going? I was wondering if you're going to join me. You said you had, was it Fridays off? This is my Saturday, 9 AM in the morning, which is crazy, I know. It's just that my sleeping pattern's been absolutely crazy lately. So let's have a look.
So wow, for real, coming to you with a quick video here. This is a correction and an update to the Antarctic UFO crash.
Hardly a correction, mate.
Carla let me know that I was looking at the wrong image of the batch that she sent when she was talking about the UFO crash. So there were a couple really cool images in there, and we already looked at this one. This is the one I thought she was talking about because there's this pit or something here. There are all kinds of tracks around. It looks like there was a bunch of activity around this site for some reason, or there's continued activity around it. And that's the one that I focused on, but she let me know that's not the one. So this is still very cool because...
so I think that's where they're doing drilling. I think we can see a shadow of the tower looking downwards. See that darkness triangle bit there? I know they're doing drilling, taking ice cores, right? So we've probably covered that one before. So that's definitely the wrong image. And now he's going to the same location I am. And there's the tank, so we'll just play it from there.
Here. So that's just a general idea where we are. So now let's take a closer look at this site. Now, so this is... Carla said it was tanks. I thought it was tanks as well. I'm going to show you why exactly right now. So I looked at this one first, and if you look at this, we've got this rectangular shape. It looks like treads on the other side, and then we've got this central spine going down the middle, and there's like a hub in the middle. So it looks very much like a tank, just in general.
Lagging. Let's see. I don't think it's lagging here. Area 51. Let's see. How many seconds behind is it? Only looks like it's maybe 15 seconds behind on my one. So that's going back to America and then sending it onto my preview screen. That's all I've got to go on. If it's lagging, it's got to be your ISP or something like that. Maybe you can reduce the resolution, maybe help you. I don't know. It looks like it's streaming all right here on the bit rate. Anyway, just carry on. So they're saying these are tanks, right? Yeah, at first glimpse, they sort of do look like tanks, right? But when you start looking deeper at it, right, doesn't make any sense. So look at that shadow there. It's a big blobby brown grey thing. I'll see if I can point to it. See that there? Look how thick the shadow is. If that was a gun barrel, that would be a huge cannon. And the next one down's equally the same, but it's also got some shadow there. So I think that's where it's got boxes or something stacked on top. I'll explain what it is in a minute. And I think that's got some extra boxes on top there creating a shadow, but it's also got some shadow because of the snow build up there. You can see here in this bit here where there's shadow because the sun's coming across this way here. So yeah. And of course, like this one looks the most tank-like here. But that's a really long barrel if that's a barrel on it. And what's these little tracks coming off here? Well, that's just snow build up here from the wind going in this direction mostly. From the mountain there. And of course they're saying this is a crashed flying saucer up here. I think you might have seen it. Has it got any better for you? Area 51. I'll just check the audio again. Seems alright here for me. Anyway, just a bit paranoid when we get technical problems. You know, the men in black again. I don't think they're too bored with this one today. I haven't heard any snoring.
Well, you can almost see what looks like a barrel right here. So then looking at this one on the end, we've got a very similar shape. We've got treads on the outside. We've got this hub-looking thing in the middle. And then what is this shadow out here? If that's not a tank barrel casting that shadow, I don't know what it is. So that's why I thought it was tanks. Now,
also, if you do scale analysis on these are massive tanks, if that's tanks, right? We know they do have snowmobiles down there, they're quite big, and stuff like that, and they do actually deliver them. You know, you got these Arctic vehicles that the Russians dropped off, which are massive. Antarctica. They've got a whole list of them here, but let's see, we want some pictures. As you can see, they've got a load of names here. So let's see if we can find some images of them. So they've got all these kind of strange machines they use down there. Of course, they drop them off on C-130, right? And they have tracks. Some of them have like really wide tracks on them. There's one there. Another one here. And of course, they have these little cargo bays with antennas on, which would cast a shadow like a gun as well. So they have like these car containers on skids, and they pull them out off the C-130 at the runway, right? There's another one going across a crevasse, is it? Or has it got stuck where it's collapsed underneath it? Yeah, it looks like it's collapsed underneath it. Whoa, that would be scary. Look at this thing here. I think that's the Russian one. Can even have a plane on top of it, look. So yeah, that kind of looks like a tank. I bet they've got fire trucks down there too, because even though they're in snow, right, they do have furnaces and laboratories which can catch fire. And of course, if you've got aliens attacking them, you're going to have fires as well. Or, you know, the chef burns something and up that goes in smoke with the oil. Or you have the blob from the space taking over the area. And there's another funny one. It's got actually a radar dish on top. Yep, there's the big, look at this thing, big wheels on it. That's the old Russian thing. Snow Cruiser, they call it. Looks like something out of Thunderbirds. Look at this one here. Looks like a school bus on funny wheels. But you can live in it, I suppose, like a caravan. Don't think it'd be very warm, though, but they'd figure out a way, I guess. And there's quite a lot of other things. But they do have these, like, C-130 planes, you know what they are. That's generally transport planes that the military use for tanks and all that sort of stuff. And they fly them down there. And they just pull out the sleds at the back of it. You've probably seen it on lots of movies like Arnie Schwarzenegger movies. What was that one called? The Renegades or whatever it was. I can't remember what it's called now. And of course, you also got the Russian plane, which is like 4 of these C-130s. They use them for putting out forest fires now as well. They can carry even bigger cargo. I suppose they would have to get that big tractor down there with the American, Russian plane. Russian transport plane, I mean. And what do you call it? C-130... and shipping containers, right? Let's see if it comes up. Antarctica. So once you start to see what the kind of equipment they have down there, it starts to make a bit more sense. See if we can find anything where they're pulling out the sled. I think that one's got a bit of a sled on it, isn't it, at the back? There you go, it's got some cargo. Scott South Pole Station. Of course, some people are down there all year round, I think, but most of them only go down there for summer, as they call it, as well. The thing is, if you found a crashed flying saucer, wouldn't you just put looks like we ain't gonna find. Wouldn't you put a like a white sheet over everything so it just blends in with the snow, right? You wouldn't know it was there because they know the satellite's going to do a pass at some stage and take an update photograph, right? So let's see. We're typing. It's just common sense logic, right? If you're going to keep something secret, you don't just sort of have some obvious equipment lined up in front of a round thing. You know, so what's the round thing? We'll go over it in a minute. Because I do the research, right? I do the research so you don't have to. Antarctic, what do you call it? Shipping containers, I suppose. They might have a special name for it. Let's have a look. Will that come up with something? Okay, so what's that one? Research station. Looks crazy. Research station in Antarctica. Well, that looks like a suspect UFO base there straight away, doesn't it? Hey? Solar cells at the top there. It's on skids, so you can move it around if you want to when it snows. Kind of looks like a service station, and I suppose underneath they can put all their cars so they don't get snowed in underneath. And it looks like it's actually got another layer, a level underneath. So there you go. I don't know what station that is, but yep, I didn't even know that existed until you got radar domes over here. Oh, that must be the Stargate, right? Stargates are everywhere. Okay. And there's some more of that build-up area that I was showing you on the map from satellite. There's an ice ship there, bringing cargo for them. Because you're not going to have a farm down there. I suppose you probably could if you built enough buildings and gave them artificial lighting and all that sort of stuff. You'd need like some sort of thermal generator down there, because there is a lot of volcanoes, as we found out down there, and they're active and they've got a lot of hydrothermal that they can get a lot of free energy from. Oh, here we go, shipping containers. That's the ones I'm talking about. So they just convert them into little habitats, right? Insulate them and just drag them out the back of C-130. But they also have cars inside them, little, what do you call it? RVs. No, all-terrain vehicles. There's another one that's a kind of a boxy shape, made out of cargo, shipping containers again, right? Just joined together. It's the sort of thing they would do on Mars, wouldn't it? You know, modularize it. It's a good way to experiment, you know. How would you live in a harsh climate? And of course, a lot of the planets are going to be like that. Here's a whole stack of shipping containers, right? Now, if you saw that from space, it's going to look like some sort of UFO base, I suppose. Time it's got snow on it and builds up around it. And you can see there's a lot of stuff that happens down there. Anyway, we can close that one down and move on. But we'll just carry on here.
Some people are saying it's missile batteries. Some people said it were power generators. You name it, it's up for grabs because I can't prove what it is either way. But they look like tanks to me. So now this is what Carla was talking about as maybe being a UFO crash. So what are we looking at here? We've got this huge mar in the surface of the snow or the ice there. And if you buy that these are tanks, that's a pretty big gouge there, right? Because tanks, I don't know if you've ever been near one, but they're not small vehicles at all. So this trench is easily as wide as a tank and 3-4 times as long as one of these tanks. So that's a pretty big gouge.
Okay, where's your scale, mate? But anyway, so that image there gets used also with GUFON yesterday, from that guy in Australia that keeps looking at rocks, claiming they're man-made buildings or alien-made buildings. Crazy stuff, right? You know, you can get all sorts of strange shaped rocks. You know, rocks with straight sides, natural. I've covered this before. Wherever I can find it is another thing, but okay, so as you can see, we get all sorts of crazy shaped rocks also on planet Earth in all extremes, from ice to thing, but we've got to watch out that some of these might be man-made. That's the only problem. So is that man-made, or is that just natural, or has it been modified? See, that's the question everybody's got to keep asking. You know, if you looked at that, and you could then just talk garbage about it, saying, oh look, there's a round dome building on Mars I found, and not actually have to prove the image or anything. Yeah, just trying to see if I get any of those crazy rocks. There's a few here, right? It's definitely got straight edges. Yeah. 24 incredible natural rock formations, right? Look at that crazy thing. That's got to be a sculpture from Egyptian aliens. What do you reckon? See, I could talk garbage like these guys till the cows come home, right? Okay, what's the next one? Oh, yeah, that looks like fossilized alien poo. That's sort of stacked up in piles here. Okay, next one. Oh, look at that one. That's definitely got to be made by aliens, right? That proves humans once colonized Mars. In fact, it even looks like Mars, doesn't it? Organ pipes, they call it. Alright, so the aliens had organs. Naughty people. Look at this one. Alien ant piles, right? Or termite piles. I'll post a link to this because I do like seeing images around the world. Rocks with straight lines. So I'm trying to get you guys to critically think and actually do the research, right? And don't just believe the garbage that's coming out of these talking heads online. The Rave Rock, that's got to be in Australia, isn't it? Look at that cool thing. That just proves there was a tidal wave happening that was wiping out alien buildings on Mars. And it cooled down so fast that it left the wave. Okay, so Devil's Town, how about that? Yeah. Don't know, it doesn't look a very nice place to live. Underwater, yeah. Well, that would be the best place to hide, wouldn't it? In plain sight, is under the sea. Well, certainly underground. They wouldn't be on the surface, right? They'd be hostile on the surface. That one looks like a face, even. Look at that. Could that have been an Egyptian phoenix? Sphinx, or whatever it's called. Egyptian statue of some kind. Look, looks like a mouth, and looks like its eyes got wrapped. Ballistic prisms. Okay, you got these little hexagon shapes, which is an island, I think it is. Oh no, that one's in Mexico. There you go, you got around the world. What's this one? Some of them look very similar though, don't they? Look at this one here, it looks like it's a sculptured building. Getting thinner at the bottom and thicker at the top. Or a nice waterfall. And that's the sort of thing they could build in the main cities, right? You could have a building that actually has a waterfall like that. It's one they haven't done it in Las Vegas, right? The wave again. But a different one. Beautiful. Good one for a PC backdrop, right? Mountains. Okay, keep going. Ooh, look at that one. I can see some square shapes happening here, like it's been carved, you know. And what's that one? Stone forest. Oh, okay. Petrified trees, is it? Or what? Not really. It looks like sculptures, doesn't it? Stonehenge on Mars, you know. Look at that damn thing. They reckon that's natural. White desert. So I would have thought that was probably carved by men as well. But they would know because it would have tool marks, right? Canyon National Park. Wow, look at that thing. Different layers you can see here. Here's the one in Ireland, is it? Yep, Ireland. Here's these hexagons, all with straight sides on them. Made from volcanic rock. And you got the archways, you know. Nature can't build archways. Of course they can. Over millions of years from wind. Mountains. Chocolate Hills, unnatural geological formations. There you go. Consists of at least 1,268 individual mounds. So you'd think there'd be burial mounds, wouldn't you? But clearly they're not. So what made them? Of course, you got the famous cowboy scene here. It brings back memories of the old westerns. Alright, so yeah, that was quite good. That was just a random search I did, just to prove that nature does make straight lines. And also you can get ones that make cubes, right? Have come across them before. Not just hexagons, but you can get cubes. Let's see, rocks. Let's see if I can find them again. And of course under the sea would form the shapes as well. Yeah, this problem was man-made stuff, right? That looks like it could be cubes here. Let's have a look at that one. From rocks to icebergs. Natural world science. Okay, they look like cubes. I don't know if it's man-made or not. Scan and electron microscope. So you see it at microscopic levels that the minerals do form cubes. So if you got enough of those joining together, right, they'd form blocks. Does say icebergs though, doesn't it? So maybe that's how the icebergs are formed. Natural world tends to break into cubes. There you go. Have found that when everything from icebergs to rocks breaks apart, their pieces tend to resemble cubes. There you go. Science, people, science, you know. If you don't know, you can always research it. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot more out there too, where we've got examples. You know, you've seen the big icebergs that form cubes. You would say they were man-made and all that sort of stuff too, but they're not. I suppose you've got to put natural maybe in there. There we go. Looks like we got some cubes here. Beautiful rocks, cubes made of stone. But are they natural? We've got to find out. Humans do like to make squares. Kind of looks like it's natural, doesn't it? Seems like a crazy design on a slope if it's man-made. And doesn't give us any information. Got some penguins here, is it? Cubes made of stone. Looks like it's man-made, but it's hard to know. Seems a bit crazy. It looks like that's natural there, but over this side it looks more made by men. Maybe it's concrete blocks, that one. It's hard to know. Like I said, you got to check the information carefully. There's a stone that looks square. Whether it's man-made again, we don't know. What's that one there? Photo. Earth is made. What's that say? Oh, it looks like squares happening. But I think you get my point. Mother Nature does throw some curveballs our way all the time. My audio is underwater. Why don't you just say it's crackling? Sounds clear this end. Is that any better? Sounds the same to me. Are we underwater? Sounds perfect this end. I've got to turn the echo off though, because it makes me stutter otherwise. Although I'm getting used to it. Sounds alright here, mate. Not too sure. It's got to be something to do with your setup there. Perhaps reload the browser or the app you're using. Sometimes that fixes it. I think we can see crystal deposits here of minerals forming crazy shape. Natural pyrite cube and rock from Spain. There you go. Doesn't say how big it is. Oh right, 7 inches here, was it? Oh, 0.7 inches. So do you get really big ones of that? I don't know. On other planets, probably. Crystallized rock. Some crazy building. Anyway, better move on. Like I said, it's out there if you search for it. So, let's go back to Google Earth here. Because we've eaten up the time. So if we zoom on this here, we'll get a better high-res image of what's going on here. Straight away, soon as you start... don't know what to do that. Got too close to it. As soon as you get close enough to the pixel levels here, it doesn't look like it's like a gun barrel anymore. Kind of looks like something has laid on top here, like a post been dumped on top. Maybe it's moved with the wind. Tracks, I don't see any tracks as such. Whether it's vehicles, I don't think so. I think it's more likely going to be like a sled with various smaller crates on top with supplies in it. And that's why it kind of looks strange, because the snow's on top of the blocks on the skid that they pulled out of the C-130. So turns out with a bit of research that it was actually a big storm coming in, and they had a limited time to unpack the C-130s, and that there is this like a heavy last dump of some supplies wrapped up in some sort of netting, you know, you've seen on military exercises where they have a load of stuff in big rope netting and just dump it out the back. Well, obviously they slid it along here, whether that's a man-made pathway to make it easier to drag away from the plane, I don't know, but let's see, we can see there's roads. See how it's been flattened out here, going right next to it. But looks like it could be runways or roads that have been snowed over there, and they simply just dragged it out. Come over here, turned the plane around, dragged it out the back, and made a like a pathway to make it easier to drag away from the runway. Could have even been part of the runway here, I don't know. Looks like there's a vehicle there. I don't know if they got photographs of the area. That would make it really bit handy, you know. But if you go through the years, right, before then, there's no... right. How long were they there for? It's a good question. So we'll just go back time frame. So that's still 2011. 2010. Okay, there's nothing there. 2010. Okay, so it looks like that ditch or whatever it is there could be natural. And we got some other stuff here now. Which could be also other dumps of material out the back of the plane to be sort of broken up and carted off by the other vehicles, right? So there we go. Does kind of look like it's been made by men, you know, like a snowplow. Now let's go back one. Still looking the same there. But then we got this line here. Whether that's a runway, I don't know. Oh look, looks like like I said, it looks like it's got little small tracks from vehicles going to the supply areas here. Might be car containers there. It's a bit hard. It's a bit out of focus. So yeah, it could be like an edge of the mountain here, which they're using for natural cover, maybe for a little road to store stuff either next to it or in front of it. And if we go back further, there you go, we've got some clearer shots. So that's sort of like a lot of tracks there. That gives us a lot of ideas what's going on there. So it definitely looks like that could be part of the runway, right? I'm not too sure if we got a scale factor on this at all. Let's see. Could that be long enough for a short runway for C-130 to come down and land? And they just snow plow it every so often and push the snow out this side so it looks like a mountain ridge. That's kind of looks like it, doesn't it? Tracks everywhere, look. No crashed UFO. Buildings. Cargo containers probably. Look, it's got an antenna on top. There's your tank again. It's back again. But it's not. It's just like an antenna going upwards and it's casting a shadow. Looks like a tank thing. And there's another tank, but it's again all those cargo containers joined together, same as that one there. And it's just got snow on top. So can we put that one to rest? There's no crashed UFO there. This is the problem with these fraud channels, so never go back in time. You can see it changes. They got containers down this way this time. By the looks of it, they've piled up snow or something there. Got some square buildings happening. Now look, they've got a lot more roads in place here going to it. It's a supply area, obviously, or a remote area to go out and do sampling of stuff. And if you go past that year, they also disappear as well. So if we go to the end, we spent almost an hour on this case. And go to here. Oh, right, there's that famous one as well. Right. It's not 4 tanks anymore. It's a whole range of car containers, right? They're just car containers. I believe there was a drilling area here somewhere as well, where they're taking an ice core. Somewhere up here, I thought it was. Which could be account for the round thing in the previous year. Maybe it's finished with now. There you go. That's what you need the historic data for. So let's put it to rest that it's nothing to do with aliens. Now, you're going to get people that get 96 likes for garbage and 649 views, and they put out this sort of garbage. And I'll just play the audio.
So could we be looking at remnants of these strange structures?
Strange structures. Do the research, mate, just like I did. Again, we got these square blocks that we disproven on a Google search that you can find everywhere on planet Earth, right? These are not even square, right? They just look like rocks with square, straight sides on them, just like we were looking at. Hexagons and all that sort of stuff. Of course, we got no scale reference here how big these rocks are, but you can see they varied from very small on Earth all the way up to massive size cliff faces, right? So this is the garbage that GUFON putting out. He believes in this stuff, which is a damn shame. 17 years and he still hasn't sorted it out. I think he smokes too much weed. Look at the eyes on him. But anyway,
extremely close. It is almost a match. I know this is covered with snow, and the one on Mars is, it's on Mars. But we don't know what this is. We don't know what's here in Antarctica, but it sure looks like this. Wow.
Right. Yeah.
And this is similar as well. And you can see there's these lines that look like this may be a roof or maybe I don't know, it looks like a tank kind of deal, but I don't know. These are structures. I don't think
So why would you get 96 likes for this garbage, right? That's really sad to see that the UFO field still ignores people like me. I'm not the expert on it all, but I can find out the answers simply by doing research and looking at other PhDs, what they're saying. Also, I can look at news reports and previous history of images. Yeah, this guy here has joined our channel, X-Files. He said yesterday's episode had nothing to do with music. That's correct. He had some sort of crop circle hippies on. X-Files thinks this is a great show tonight. So there you go. So that's stupid. Terrible show tonight. Because I'm just pointing out now, X-Files. So do we trust you, part of our team here, X-Files? Now you're saying nice things on GUFON's garbage. So what else we got
These
here?
are rocks. And I think these are structures which look like rocks. All right, let's continue.
So he's doing the third face thing. Are they rocks? Oh no, they could be buildings. Oh no, it's a bit of both.
Very, very similar. And there are some researchers that have spoken about a race of alien beings that fled Mars in the distant past and landed in Antarctica, where they established a...
Just a story and no evidence, no images of these aliens. They'll be talking about Admiral Byrd, which has been debunked so many times as a story, right? It's just crazy.
Nice. So could we be looking at remnants of these strange structures? These might...
Rocks are rocks. And of course then he goes to Mars and the same garbage, right? Talking about...
That's a straight
craters.
Ridge, my friends. At least it looks that way. Look at that. I know, we could talk about this stuff forever, and I think from now on we will be featuring a lot of these Mars anomalies and Antarctica anomalies. It's stuff come around here.
Of the...
Where is he talking about more craters? Anyway, he was talking about
because
craters.
Something was in... You know what I mean? Where's the life?
And flying the space shuttle.
So we've debunked a lot of this stuff, but previously, right? Go on, Google, keep up.
There's the houses down.
Very loud all of a sudden. Anyway, I got some other stuff here. Just carry on. So the next one. Oh, this might be the crater one. Third face this time. So, as someone said to me last night, as soon as you hear clickbait title start with "Oh my God," undeniable moon base, you know it's not worth watching. So let's have a look and have a laugh at this one. Have I got links to... Yeah. Blind leading the blind. And alright. Okay, let's just have a clip of this one. Alright, this one. So, they're saying this little light here, and it starts at the front too. I'll just bring it back to the beginning. Is a UFO.
Doesn't know exactly what it is, but we're getting a close-up look at it, and it is definitely something there, and it's very bizarre. So let's just start it up with Rich from GUFON. What's your thoughts initially on these photographs?
Go on, 17 years expert.
Initially, my question was he really over Nellis Air Force Base? I was just trying to think, where is this guy at that this thing
there it is, yeah.
may be a balloon?
And
of
there
course,
it's
that's
there.
my first reaction. And then we see the close-up of it when you zoom in, and it's not quite balloonish, if you ask me. It's kind of sitting there, acorn shaped. It has an edge that goes around pretty much like the center of it, and it's rounded. It's kind of like an acorn bubble. It's really interesting.
Now, I think they said it was a photograph. To me, it looks like lens flare, right? The sun looks like it's up in this direction here, and could be reflecting sunlight off the plane as it's going past over here, that direction there. Could be a hot spot there. Let me just see.
Why would that be over Nellis Air?
Okay, so why would it suddenly end up here? Is that one frame or is it several frames? Who knows? Because they're playing around with original footage, right? Looks typical of a lens flare. Let's see. Have they got more footage at the front?
That needs to be looked at over very closely. So we're going to be going into depth
So why is it in a cloud
in
cover
regards
there?
to some of this information we just received right here at Third Phase Moon. We've got the panel with us, Rich from GUFON and Michael from Dark Hour Paranormal. We're going to
So that looks like photograph. It doesn't look like the same video, does it?
break it down right now. We're looking at a series of photographs captured by Bruce Bradley, and he was over there at the Nellis Air Force Base, and this jet just came overhead, and he noticed something after looking over the photographs of something bizarre, anomaly. He doesn't know exactly what it is, but we're getting a close-up look at it, and
Alright, so let's just grab a thing of that and run it through some filters. Right. But I still think it's a lens flare. I was just trying to see where the sun was in that location, but it's cropped off, right? I wouldn't call it a UFO. But let's run it through some filters, and it's UFO in the sense that it's unknown artifact, whether it's camera artifact, because of the lens, because it uses glass. And glass causes reflection off the back of the lenses, as we've talked about in the past, with camera artifacts. So let's pop that in and see what we can do with it. Oh, didn't mean to click it. So I might run this for a couple of hours today, and maybe do another show tomorrow to finish off some of those tabs there. I was going to keep it short, but 2 hours is alright, I think. Hopefully the audio's okay now, the Area 51, you didn't say. So, could it be a garbage bag? Could it be lens flare? Could it be some sort of one of those spider webs that floats around in the sky? So let's run it through some filters, see if any clues pop out. Okay. Okay, looks like a less like a UFO now. If we cut down the glare, could it be an out of focus bird? If that's a UFO, it's certainly a strange looking UFO. Almost looks like a piece of plastic floating in the air. But could lens flare look like that? Normally it forms some strange shapes as well. Could it be a bird? Is that reflections? Let's see. But hard to tell, but it's certainly not UFO shape, is it? I'd say that would be the actual shape of what we're looking at there. Kind of looks like a thing with two eyes and a mouth now. Let's go back to the original again. Kind of looks like it's dimmed down here though. But when you go through all the different colour swaps on it, all those whites and greys, so that would be the brightest parts showing there. Next level of brightness. So I can see what they're seeing. They're thinking that's a wing there and a wing there, and it looks like a TR3B, right? Or something like that. Or they're looking at like this one here with the bright ring bit going around, and it looks like it's got a bit going up on top here. So it looks like a diamond-shaped UFO maybe. And if you overexpose it, you can make it look more saucer-like. Okay, but hard to tell what it is. But I don't think it's a real object. Is my gut feeling. I think it might be lens flare, but here we got next one. You can see how small it is, right, compared to the jet. And we don't know if it passes underneath it here. If it was on video, right, we'd be able to see if it was lens flare. Okay, let's just move it on.
To the difference right off.
Okay, so do they zoom on that one or not? So we can actually...
the bat between the two photographs. The first one is very clear and we can get much better. To me, I can...
They always focus on that one. Notice how they don't focus on this one.
Suit of it? What you...
That's one thing.
Oh yeah, here we go, finally.
That we may have captured something.
Well, that's all they're going to zoom in on. Why is that? Because they're hiding something, right? So there must be something wrong with this one. So what do you reckon it is, Area 51? You're the only one with us today. Same-o, same-o. What do you reckon, lens flare? Light reflected back at the camera. Good quality photograph, isn't it? So it must have been on a high shutter speed. I suppose we haven't got access to the original photographs, have we? That would help see how many pixels it is and all that. Don't see any reference to it, right? Okay, so let's just plug that one in. Shame he didn't have it on burst mode, where you get 8,000 images a second, right? If he's got a high-end camera, because you don't need the sound of the jet flying past, and then you would be able to see what this wreck really is. So straight away you can see here it looks more washed out, and that's probably why they weren't showing it. You can see here it's changed shapes, which UFO craft shouldn't do, right? So it's misleading you again. And again, it's just a smudgy white blob, right? Could it be a pocket of gas from the afterburners that went past previously? And it's now breaking up as it's flying past again. I don't know. There might be some jet fighter pilots out there that know about these white puffy things. Maybe they were dropping illumination flares and that's what's left over of one. Kind of looks like a smoke blob, like a cloud, you know. There's no shape on that one at all now, is there? See, that one just blows it straight open. It's obviously meant to be the same object. We could make it more solid. But that's not really what it looks like. So you can make it more UFO-like by adding artifacts in, right? Again, it doesn't look like a UFO. Alien craft, right? So it looks like it's like a puff of smoke of some kind. And we see how small it was. So the question is, was it something the jet left behind on the last pass? Could it be some seed pods floating around in the air closer to the camera? It could be that too, right? We've come across that before. But yeah, it's a shame it's not lots of images. And like I said, burst mode. So they only focus on this one because it looks like a TR3B or whatever, right? So we're back to this one here too as well, so we'll cover that one next. So yeah, let's see, Dark Hour. So I posted this one up last night, and someone posted in the comments there, Dark Hour, Paranormal and GUFON are both so knowledgeable. They talk other crap and also have likable personalities, right? Yes, he's a vindictive character assassinating person. Yeah, great character. They're going far. So someone put that bullshit comment. But then if you read the other comments, yeah, I spent 10 minutes talking about this little blue bubble. Yeah, they did do it in analysis like I did. Come on now. The panel is needed to extend on a short amount of content. Bingo! Stop this. GUFON and all others, bro. Come on. I have watched you guys for years. So these guys are going to get censored. These people are not it. I'd rather not see you folks for a little than hit us back up with great content. So this one's a wee bit crazy as well because he thinks Third Phase of Moon is good content. You now block your own content and make us endure the parrots, I mean. Bury their content and try to force. So that comment went on a wee bit more. Probably still there, maybe. We can have a look. But I want to talk about this next one. Old news. So they're repeating old news here. Remember this one where there's a guy that's made up his own telescope and it's like 5 meters long and it can zoom in on the moon through the atmosphere, which you know you got atmospherics and you also got birds and bats and balloons and planes and contrails from jets that cover the moon. And they're saying this is a radar dish here. Which is utter nonsense.
Sitting out there, it's clearly not part of the environment, from shape to color, probably texture too if you were able to get close enough. But, you know, initially, again, my thought was, you know, this is just out in the open and they made no attempt to cover it up or, you know.
Yeah, so this was debunked by Scott Brando a long time ago. What was the year? 2018, a couple of years ago. That's repeating the same old rubbish, right? So we'll just bring that up there. You can see the talking heads are talking garbage. So first of all, he plays a clip from the older video, obviously from the Sky Watcher, or Moon Watcher, if you want to call it that. And they're zooming in on the thing. So what you normally get in the middle of craters, right? You normally get a pile of rocks. And that's what we expect to see because the way a water droplet works. So here's the HD res, and they know what crater it is on the moon. And you can see it's just a pile of rocks in the middle. Debunked. No radar dish. No dome, because that's all to do with artifacts, right? Atmospherics and pixelization and all that sort of stuff, right? And that's the view, that angle. But when you fly straight over it, you can see it's not. And there you go, another view on the angle there. Looks like it's a shiny chunk of white rock, but like the outside rim here, right? Sort of, you could see it quite, you could fit it in your mind as a radar dish that's spinning around, but why would you put a radar dish inside a crater, right? That makes no sense. You know what I mean? Because you got the edge of the crater, it's going to bounce off the signal back to the radar thing. You wouldn't build it in a crater, you'd build it on the highest mountain peak on the moon if you're going to build a radar dish. This is how little science these guys know. Just common basic science, right? So yeah, I'll just post that tweet there down the side. You can have a watch on your big screen if you want to. Crater radar dish debunked. How many times I got to do this, I don't know. I'm pretty sure I covered this one back in 2018. You'll probably better find it on a live stream. But yes, we got to keep covering it because the frauds keep bringing it up, and people are not paying any attention to people like me and Scott. I think, yeah, you know, if you bring up new images and it's still a blob in the middle of a crater, but it looks like a pile of rocks. That's a pile of rocks. And they just talk garbage about it.
Anyway, knowing again, we didn't do a good job.
Sort of protective shield that goes around that area to protect it from the elements. And
very poor
when they
audio on
land or take off, it's still resonating in the area for a minute. I don't know what it is. I have no idea, never seen anything like it, but that greenish hue is kind of weird.
When you look at green things, in my opinion, it almost resembles like organic life, like a blade of grass, or almost kind of like a flower blooming or a bud of a flower. Could this be possibly just something major in an organic?
They talk utter crap, don't they? He's a flower boy, blooming. He's got growing out of his bum hole. Anyway, I'll just close that one down. So what's the next one? Okay, yep, I'll bring that one up next. Let's see. Weed heads. Alright, that's Area 51. I want to bring that one up too. It's just so much to cover. What's that one? Oh yeah, about the TV show. So I got all these ones to do still. Right, and he did some more lunar anomalies here as well. And let me just quick have a look at this one. Alright, so I want to talk about this guy where they're talking about making square blocks on the thing.
In the comment section, I usually have my comment pinned with all the links. Okay, again, we're looking at this one. What we were looking at is a 2D image, but when you enhance it and bring out the darker areas, it becomes a 3D. Suddenly these...
Okay, so straight away you can't make 3D from 2D, right? Unless you got additional data like topology, right? What he's doing, what this guy's doing, he's adding in artifacts And I think he's probably using a thing called Paint 3D. Let's see what we can do with it. Open Paint 3D, which allows you to convert 2D images to 3D, and also to create stuff for 3D printers, right? I think that's what it can do. I don't know, I've never really used it. Thickness, brush. So what can it do? Maybe it's not Paint 3D, maybe it's another tool. Canvas option. What else we got? Brushes. What's those do? Pencil. Maybe it's not the Paint 3D. But why would it be called 3D if you can't make it 3D? Now, what's that one? Magic selects. Lift an object out of your image. Okay. View model in mixed reality. Okay, let's see. Can we do that? What's it doing there? Zoom. It looks like it's doing something. So how'd you do that then? Project to put into the real world. Maybe this one hasn't got much information then. Oh, drawing that on there. I'm pretty sure this is what he's using though. Interaction controls, I think that's what came up before. Touch, move, orbits. Okay, you can spin it around, pan, zoom. Yeah, it looks like it's creating a shadow effect here. I think that's what he's using anyway. We'll just go back to that video. Don't save. I don't think there's any other tools. There might be. Let's have a look. Windows 10 comes with some new stuff. I suppose we could probably research it very quickly. Paint 3D. Make 3D image on 2D. Paint 3D. Obviously it's going to create artifacts, right? It's going to use shading. How to turn a 2D shape into a 3D in 3D paint. Draw a shape or doodle. Click on 3D shapes icon in the menu. That's what we sort of did though, wasn't it? Click on the shapes that you'd like to replicate. So we ain't got time to learn that. But I wonder if they got some pictures where they show it. There, someone's created a object. Anyway, next stage. Making a character. Oh, there we go. And it works out the lighten for you. So you could probably print it out in a 3D printer, maybe. And you got your little character. So obviously it's using some AI, right? It's looking at the shaded edges. And it turns it to a 3D image. Which is only guesswork, right? So we can't trust what it's doing. Yeah, we can just close that one down too. Got too much running here.
These things start to pop. Now let's jump down here.
Wow, look at all the work.
So now
that
I
he
just
puts
did
in.
a quick equalization. Suddenly now we have almost what look like squares here. And not
Yes, so is he using 3D paint or some other tool? But it'd be basically the same principle. Is it like Adobe Photoshop? It's probably got the 3D option in it, probably. Is that Adobe? I don't use it myself. Costly software you have to pay each month for. But you can see here, it looks like it's used the shadows. And of course it's created artifacts, right? Rocks turn into more square shapes because of the shadows. And GUFON goes, wow man, I'll just have a puff on this bit of cigarette here.
an L shape. Now to me,
Thank you. And this is what Jean Ward has been talking about on his channel. Finding these square structures all over. It's amazing. We'll put the link for that one in the description as well,
Amazing,
so you can take a look
man.
at that. So thanks again, Chris, at Mars Anomalies and Beyond.
So you've got a plug in there. So that's the one you should blacklist and not actually watch. Anyway, of course we do go over these ones in the past. Richard Hoagland was another one that was creating similar artifacts with editors. And then you got Josie Scamilia. Notice his name has got scam in it. And then you got also Mike Bara. Has he got him on here? Keith Laney, George Haas, David Icke, and of course all these artifacts from cameras, which I've gone over in the past, to do with the ink, prototype camera, scratches and all that sort of stuff. Has it got Mike Bara one here? Here we go. Mike Bara is at the very top, actually. The loonies. The lunar loonies. Yeah, so I've covered him before, where he's done this thing called a pyramid on the moon. And he mucked around with it in the editor so much to make it look like a pyramid when it's clearly not. So I'm not sure if you can still find information on Mike Bara. I'm not sure I spend too much time on the lunar anomalies. I might cover it in more detail next time. I keep saying that. Mike Bara fakes pyramid. I think it was on the moon. Probably better find the articles. Ancient aliens. Probably have to type in different keyword. Obviously Google's plugging the box, and that's where it makes money. Dark mission. It hasn't come up with the ones we're looking for. So let's try debunked. We gotta try various keywords. Debunked. Yeah, let's see what that says. Does it talk about the pyramid? Alright, here, crystal towers on the moon. Okay, hasn't got the pyramid one. Doesn't look like it. Animals, Roadrunner, parrot. I don't think I've seen the Roadrunner one. Debunking UFOs, ancient aliens exposed. Okay, that looks like a book or something. Pyramids. I know I've covered it in past live shows. I wonder if I can actually find it. Sometimes it's just hard to go back to Google and find what you're looking for. Mike Bara, probably he'll come up. Unless Google stuffed up that search as well. There you go. Moon structures and anomalies. I've covered all this before in that one there. I'll just post a link to it there. Moon anoms. Mike Bara. Let's see if we can find the pyramid one in that. It was a 3-hour one, like 3.5 hours by the looks of it. We got no chapters, I don't think. Yeah, so looks like it's still on the old format here. 51 years hangouts on here, yucky, I think. So it probably corrupted it. Probably worth doing again, probably in that sense. Secure team. Talking about them. Yes, Mike Bara has to be here because I mentioned it. This is the one, I think. Let's have a look. Mike Bara. So I probably need to create some chapters for it. Still talking about secure team. It's well worth having one to watch on. Let's see. There's that page that we're looking at on the wiki. Talking about how they're made. So I added some extra pictures and stuff. Apollo 18. As usual, I can't find what I'm looking for. We do cover a lot of topics in that one there. Ah, right, the famous gun on the pipe in the middle and gun on the outside. Yeah. Even Mick West has debunked them. Talking about stitching errors and various effects that create fake shadows. Scott C. Warren is the main culprit at the moment for doing this stuff. But obviously others are doing it now. The Australian guy. Yeah, I just can't seem to find the Mike Bara one. Could that be the one? No. You'd think it'd be easy to find, but it's in the episode somewhere, I think. Let's see. Pyramids. Let's put that in quotes. See, put it in quotes means it's got to be in the search. Moon. Let's see what we get here. Here we go. Let's have a look at that one. Alien moon moles. You'll find lots of articles like this where they break it down as bad science. But I don't think this one's about the pyramid, is it? Hasn't got any images on there. Keep looking. Alien head on the moon. Yep. These audience a diet. It's probably here somewhere. And other links it is. History Channel. Rational Wiki. Not really History Channel anymore, are they? Once they start putting up fraud content like that, it's sort of... They've sort of cheapened their brand now. They're not really history at all. They're like fake news ratings, right? You think I better find it. There it is, yeah. It's called the Sugar Pyramid, I betcha. I think that's probably what we're looking for. Sig Hut. Let's see. Debunked. Try that. Yeah, probably cleaned up the debunking. It's not good for sales to debunk their stuff. Yeah, Amazon, they're all on board for pushing false stuff and dumbing down people, right? You can see here, look at the views. Believers, the more skeptics. So what's the bottom one say? Garbage. Everything Mike Bara knows he is wrong. Screwed again. Bought this book without looking at the reviews. Mike Bara attempts to convince us there are remnants of an ancient alien civilization on the moon. Now, these people got lots to say. Scientifically suspect on many levels. There is no proof or substantial evidence here. But yeah, where's the guy that breaks down how he faked it with the editor? Used various filters and things. Has to be on that other episode, but we're just going to move on. And of course, we got that to go over too. And let's see. Does it mention here anywhere? The pyramid, because that should really be talked about. I didn't see it there on the list. Amazing triangle, nope, not even close. Okay, so let's come back to that one at some stage here, 51. Okay, I want to come back to that. I was going to look at some of those UFO cases. Maybe I should just switch gears and actually look at something different for a while. But yeah, before we move on to the UFO cases, we'll wrap it up on some UFO cases and we'll do the rest tomorrow. I believe in UFOs, but not in third phase. YouTube users... So this guy's put out this thing on Facebook, which I thought was bang on. Beware. Channel Third Phase. This was put out in 2012. Talk about muddy the waters. The channel is producing hundreds of UFO videos from around the world. At one time I thought this channel was authentic. I feel it's doing more harm to disclosure than what debunkers do. By faking videos, and one of the clips, the channel owner, which is Blake, is interviewing for supposed UFO video, and we are led to believe that they are going to pay $10,000 for the exclusive. It is a hoax done by the hoaxers to prove what? The third phase is authentic. In fact, third phase has been proven to create CGI videos. It is a twisted plot they weave, and for what? Revenue dollars. So if I just play this little video clip here. It's not long. I don't know if it's got any sound. Why is it not playing? Oh, scary music. I suppose it's okay. It's third phase of the moon. First watch this video. UFOs caught in tape while trespassing on US government soil, I guess. All rights reserved, 2010. Grainy video. 3 white dots in the background. Then watch this video. Winner. Alright, okay, we need to listen to the sound, I think. The same sound effect on the zoom is used in this video and for the first one. Yeah, manufactured videos of UFOs. We get it, we get it. We know they do it. Good drum sound. What do we hear? A repeating wind sound. So we know there's fake stuff. Do yourself a favor, unsubscribe from third phase. So this guy tried to do the good deed back in 2012 and no one listened. What's happened? I hate Facebook. Fake. Okay, what did he say? Unsubscribe. Share this video to people you think these videos are real. Don't buy the DVD they are launching on May 2011. I wonder what the DVD was. I wonder how many people bought it. Don't ever waste your time on liar YouTube channel Third Phase of the Moon. Because every time you watch his videos, he earns money from each view. Grace off the Google ads on it. So very true. So we can get rid of that one now. So let's finish this off with a UFO case, something different. Robert has covered this on the past. The Welsh UFO flap of 1977. So I found these extra reports here. UFO files from National Archive allow believers to revisit the Welsh Roswell. Reports of the 1974 explosion from declassified papers show Military of Defense struggle to explain Landrillo incidents. UFO... Maybe I should just get the reader. Unfortunately, I've bitten my tongue in the night and it's all damn swollen again. I need to get a mouth guard of some kind, I think. And these articles are quite good, so we'll just finish up on those. Yeah. I don't want that. Right. I'll get the guild to read it out properly. And let's see what happens.
It's your choice.
Oh, damn
UFO enthusiasts called it the Welsh
There we go.
Roswell and insisted that one evening in 1974 an alien craft crashed in North Wales, and the government secretly removed dead extraterrestrial bodies, the latest files from the National Archives reveal today. The documents describe how residents of Llandrillo in Merionethshire, near the Berwyn Mountains, first reported strange lights streaking across the sky. Then, as the night wore on, the villagers heard a colossal explosion and felt a tremor ripple through their homes. Later, ufologists claimed roads were sealed off and people kept away from the site after the incident on January 23, 1974. Alien bodies were then taken to Porton Down Biological Warfare Center for analysis, it was claimed, prompting the comparisons with Roswell, the 1947 incident in which, conspiracy theorists claimed, the U.S. military recovered an alien spacecraft in New Mexico, the story that gave birth to 60 years of ufology, movies and all. The latest batch of UFO files show how experts at the Ministry of Defense, MOD, initially struggled to explain the Llandrillo incident. A search and rescue team from RAF Valley, on Anglesey, was scrambled in response to the reports of an explosion and a large fire on the mountainside. Some witnesses described seeing a bright red light, like a coal-fire red. Large perfect circle. Like a big bonfire. Could see lights above and to the right, and white lights moving to bottom. Although the police and the RAF team began their search within an hour of the incident, nothing was found. The search carried on through the night, until it was called off just after 2 p.m. the next day. The MOD file released today shows the authorities did receive a number of reports of an unusual object seen in the sky just before 10 p.m. on the evening in question. The officials conceded that a bright light apparently descending to the Earth's surface was seen in many parts of Britain. The military thought that it was most likely a bolide, a meteor which enters the Earth's atmosphere and burns up. The Whitehall file adds that a private investigation done on behalf of the British Astronomical Society concluded, however, that the meteor may in fact have disintegrated over Manchester, and that its appearance was preceded at 8:32 p.m. by an earth tremor in the Berwyn Mountains with which it had no connection. But this official explanation failed to convince many subsequent correspondents to Whitehall's now disbanded UFO unit. As one witness wrote, that something came down in the Berwyn Mountains on that night. I am certain, we were visited by an object that evening. Officially, Whitehall has always been open-minded on the existence, or otherwise, of alien life, merely saying that no evidence for it has ever been established. Alien abduction is officially described as a non-issue. However, the 5,000 pages of files released today document the constant belief of ufologists that officials have the evidence, but have covered it up. Among the hundreds of reports of sightings, crashes, and other close encounters, the files reveal the inside story of 14 minutes of missing film of a Blue Streak missile test in 1964, believed by some to show a spaceman. The MOD say it was internal camera reflection. A letter claiming Churchill ordered a cover-up of a wartime encounter between a UFO and a RAF bomber over the English coast. A 1999 MOD investigation found no written record of the incident. Ufologists' belief that RAF Rudloe Manor, Wiltshire, was Britain's Area 51, the American military base in Nevada where they claim wreckage from the Roswell UFO was taken. While Rudloe Manor collated UFO reports until 1992, no research was ever carried out there. The files reveal several attempted break-ins by UFO enthusiasts to prove otherwise. The punter who had a 100-to-1 bet with Ladbrokes that aliens would be found on Earth dead or alive before the end of the century,
That sounds
made
like
a
UFO
last-ditch appeal to
Jesus.
the minister for sport for evidence to support his claim after Ladbrokes refused to pay out. He said the existence of 19 books in Leeds Public Library on the Roswell incident should have been evidence enough. The mod said it couldn't help him. As 2021 unfolds,
No payout.
and you're joining us from New Zealand, we have a small favor to ask.
Yeah, they're using IP chicken. So, we have talked about that in the past with Robert. And there's a stone ring there in the mountains, I guess. Article was more than 10 years old. 2010. I thought it'd be a good one to read out the summary again. But it blends into these other topics from there. Maybe I'll just post the link down the side if you want to reread it. What was it called again? The Welsh Roswell. So I went from this one, I think. Let's have a look. Yeah, I have to come back to that tomorrow. So this one here. Which goes a bit more detail with a particular case. Which we have talked about before, but there's some similarities to other UFO cases in America. I'm not too sure if we covered it or not, but I thought it'd be worth redoing it regardless. So the more interesting part of this one comes later on, where it talks about the cows and a guy in a space suit. So we'll just read that, and I'll just start talking about it.
The Welsh UFO Flap of 1977. Dave Partridge. April 25th, 2018 9-minute read. In November 2017, I launched an online magazine called Shadows of Your Mind, dedicated the world of ufology, the paranormal, the unexplained, and alternative thinking. Published, edited, designed, and mostly written by myself, what follows is one of the articles that featured in the launch issue. David Davies was just your average pupil at Broadhaven Primary School, but on February 4, 1977, while out playing football in the school field, a glint of silver in the nearby trees caught his eye and caused him to stop and watch. He described seeing a cigar-shaped craft rising then descending behind some nearby trees. He wasn't the only one either. Other playmates also saw the object, but by the time one of them had run into the school to fetch a teacher, it had gone. The headmaster at the time, Ralph Llewellyn, sat the children down inside and, under exam conditions, asked them to draw what they had seen. Each picture showed a variation of a semi-elliptical craft with a red flashing light on top of a small raised dome, while some pictures even had a silver-suited occupant descending from the craft. Estimates of the size averaged around 45 feet long. The story made the national news, and
so the clue here so far is this silver-suited occupant. So just keep that in your head there.
And even the famous John Craven's News Round, a popular children's television program. Hugh Turnbull of the local Western Telegraph was first on the scene to talk to the pupils, along with local vet Randall James Pugh, who knew some of the children. They also took a look at the area where the children had said the craft had landed, but the ground was extremely muddy, and there was no way of distinguishing if anything had landed. They did notice, however, that a nearby telegraph pole had been damaged near the top, the metal cross T-piece bent out of shape. Skeptics claimed that the children had just seen a helicopter or a chrome tanker from the local sewage plant not far from the school. However, upon checking, the plant said no tankers arrived that day.
Busted.
Turnbull then justified that by remarking that these are children from a farming background. They know what a tanker looks like.
Bingo.
One of the school teachers, Mrs. Morgan, disclosed that she too had seen the craft out of the window,
There
followed
you
by a
go.
little whirlwind of dust
Adult.
that came across the playground as it ascended. The Broadhaven pupils with their drawings of what they had seen copyright Western
Okay, we
Telegraph.
covered that in detail with Robert. If you can dig
We
up
got
that
in
live
touch
if you
with
want
Peter
more
Paget,
info.
author of the book The Welsh Triangle, who spent a lot of time in the area following the incident for further information.
We covered that in a 3-part series, UFO cases with Robert, called The School UFO Sightings. So you can find that under his playlist that we had. But yeah, you can type in school, I guess, and you'll probably get the episodes come up on that particular event. And we go into a bit more detail on that. There you go, 3 best school UFO cases, part 1. And I think there's a part 2, maybe even a part 3, sometime later. So you can search it that way. Back to the article.
Information. He spoke to children at the school in the playing field, 200 yards from where the craft had been spotted. David Davies, Michael Webb, Tudor Jones, Paul Williams, David Ward, Philip Rees, and Sean Garrison all recalled seeing a silvery-colored disc with an occupant holding some sort of camera-sized object. Headmaster Llewellyn told Peter that although personally he was skeptical of such craft himself, there was no reason to believe that the children had conspired to produce a sustained, sophisticated hoax. As it transpired, it wasn't the only sighting in the area, as Peter soon found out. He'd been told of an incident at Ripperston Farm, near to the Atlantic coast, which was owned by the Coombs family. Pauline Coombs claimed she had been chased by a football-sized object while driving back home one night. A few nights later, her and her husband Billy were watching a late-night western on the television.
So this is where it's a bit more interesting, the Coombs family. A football-sized object. So that's like what they call the UFO probe, isn't it? Normally they're spheres, silver spheres chasing you. So it's quite small, football, Everybody knows what football size is. But here they're not talking about American football. So this is another one way of saying a soccer ball, right? A sphere. That's what they mean there. So everybody here in New Zealand would think football was rugby, right? Which is an oval shape, totally different. Changes it completely. But we're talking about a soccer ball here. So what's that? About 1.5 feet in diameter. So that's typical of silver objects following cars that we've heard in other stories, right? So what are they? I reckon they're little probes, right? And of course Charles also talked about seeing one of these silver balls outside the back of his house, right?
When Pauline noticed a silvery glow outside in the dark. At that point the television started to suffer from interference, and Billy leapt up from his chair as he saw something outside the window. As the pair stood clinging to each other, both of them were now staring at a huge spacesuit individual a few feet beyond through the window.
Okay, so that
They
sounds
described
like
the man to Peter.
Obviously, this sounds similar to what the children were saying, a silver-suited figure. So, doesn't fit your normal alien greys, does it, this one? Back in the 70s, though. So, does that mean that maybe someone from another multiverse, another human that's in a silver suit, because bipedal, it kind of makes sense. Maybe it's something like that, right? Where did he disappear to, right? Is another thing. If he's travelled many light years to get here, how did they do it? And why hasn't more of them come back with the silver suits? We've got lots of alien greys, but we haven't got many silver suited aliens, right? Talking about 7 foot tall, that sort of fits Bigfoot, the Bigfoots that they're seen coming out of UFOs. 7 foot, 9 foot. 7 foot is pretty abnormally large human being. If it's someone playing a prank on them. Let's just keep on reading it. So this is why I found this case interesting about the silver suit.
Peter is over 7 foot tall, clad completely in a one-piece silver aluminium-looking suit, capped by a square, solid-looking helmet fronted by an opaque, black square visor. Coming from the helmet was
so a helmet with a black visor sounds very similar to what we'd use for firefighting. So that's why straight away people debunked it as someone playing a prank, right? But it's not the only case, which we'll get to, where this silver-suited thing has been seen in the 70s. So where did he disappear after the last sighting? I don't know. I haven't come across any other reports where it may have gone to. Collected evidence, took photographs, and then took off back to the home planet, maybe. Or multi-universe.
Was a thick, dark-colored pipe which went back over his shoulder. As Pauline and Billy stood there too terrified to move.
See, a pipe means it's obviously breathing some sort of air. Or gas, or whatever.
Their farm dog Blackie, who would refuse to go out of the house after the incident, circled his tail and whimpered in a corner of the room.
Get a better dog.
Both of them were now staring at a huge spacesuit individual through the window a few feet beyond.
Now, would you be scared, or would you go outside and say, "Hey, you, who are you?" Would it run off? Would you take a chance of chasing them? Maybe they did, and maybe just don't have memory of it, right? Me, I tend to attack first and ask questions later, I guess. Intruder in the house. You're gonna go swinging at things, like I did with the paranormal thing that was attacking me. Whatever that was, I don't know. But it was there because the dogs even saw it. They come running down the hallway, and as soon as it saw the dogs, it was gone. So critters from another dimension don't like dogs. Maybe it's a good reason to be a dog owner. That day, my sister was visiting again. That particular year, wasn't it?
A few weeks later, in May 1977, Pauline related to Peter a further incident. From her kitchen window, she had seen a landed UFO in a field towards the coast. It was 400 to 500 yards away, and was resting on a tripod configuration. She estimated the silvery craft size to be about 14 to 20 foot diameter, with an antenna sticking out of the top.
That sounds really similar to Sakura UFO, doesn't it? Although I don't believe that one. Although I believe there was a mixture of sightings, and I think maybe that's possible, you know, that multiple events happened. There was a real UFO, and then there was some military or some NASA activity happening, because they used it there for testing in Sakura, the space stuff, right? Could she be making up the story? Of course she could. Tripod configuration. Well, that seems to make more sense, you know. To keep weight down on a spaceship, why would you use a fourth leg when three can do it? 20 foot in diameter. That would be big enough for maybe one or maybe two passengers, maybe. Because 7 foot tall. It doesn't say how deep it is, does it? Only says the width. So it was at least 7 foot thick in that case for the Silver Man.
Top. She reiterated that given her experience with different types of farm vehicles, she couldn't possibly have made a misidentification. A little while after the craft had left and flown out towards the Atlantic, Pauline and her husband inspected the field and discovered a burnt circular mark in the grass. The couple's children...
So that means it's got rocket propulsion of some kind, right? Sounds really man-made-y, or a being from a multi-universe, which I've sort of covered in my theories, right, in past live shows. I still think some people might say it was a time traveler, right? But you can expect their technology to be better than that, if that was the case. I think it might be our universe is more weird than we can understand, and someone either managed to break through into our world for a short time and explore it, and then pop back out by pure accident, or maybe they got some way of generating a bridge between universes and popping in and out whenever they want to. So this one, the greys may be also the same. They might be from a multi-universe that's connected, as well as this silver-suited spaceman might be from another universe, right? Different ages of development. There may even be human beings, right? It's the same DNA, double gangers. It just makes your mind boggle, It's good for sci-fi, all this type of stories.
Children also had their own experiences in a field near to the beach. On one occasion, a large silver-suited figure walked past within 12 feet, seemingly unconcerned with their presence. The other instance involved the sighting of 3 hovering UFOs, the lowest of which dropped a metal ladder, which a figure descended, and a bright red fluorescent box. After they had flown off, the Coombs children ran into the field to locate the box without success. The next day, blotchy red patches appeared on the arms.
So, we keep hearing about this box, don't we? Kind of weird. A red fluorescent box. Does sound almost multi-universal, doesn't it? Interdimensional. I like multiverse rather than interdimensional. Interdimensional almost sounds, too far out there. Well, having membranes between universe, like I've explained in past live shows, makes more sense. If you imagine each universe being a sphere that sort of moving around in another sort of space frame where they touch each other. This multi. Yes. See if it comes up. Yeah. I know people don't watch everything I produce, but me, I just I find things other people don't, right? So you need to understand my theories and stuff that I talk about to understand what I'm talking about, really. How do I spell multi-universe? Here it is here, this one here. Where I'm talking about the balls connecting with the membrane. I still think that's what we're looking at. In fact, it might be even a quick way to travel normal space, if you could bounce from one multi-universe to the another one on the other side of us, you can get to the other side of the universe, right? To pop into our existence and find other planets, right? Could change the whole damn thing, right? And of course, the ball can expand and it can contract just like the expanding universe theory, right? The whole thing seems to fit together. And of course, the critters that we're seeing, like Bigfoot and stuff, could be breaking into our dimension the same way, or accidentally getting caught through the membrane and then popping back again. All that sort of business. But it gets a bit more interesting. Let's keep on going.
Arms and legs of the children, who had never suffered from allergies, and often played in the long grassy fields that surrounded their farm. Dude, where's my cows? These incidents also had an effect on the Coombs livestock. The 2 fields where the UFOs had been sighted were now off limits as far as their herd of Frisians were concerned, with the anxious bovine refusing to enter either field, and their milk yield was down 15%. One night something truly bizarre occurred at the farm. Billy Coombs was tending to a couple of heifers in the milking complex, where the cattle were housed for the night, when he decided to pop back to the house for a quick cup of tea. Around midnight, leaving the shed locked and secure with the gates bolted, Billy made his way up to the farmhouse. As soon as he approached the door, he heard the phone ringing and went to answer it. On the other end of the line was an irate neighboring farmer who was insisting that Billy come down to his farm and retrieve his cows who were eating his crops. Amazed at the accusation, Billy informed his neighbor that he'd left the cows all locked and secure in the milking shed less than a minute ago, so there was no way they were his cows. His neighbor was equally insistent though, so Billy told him to wait while he checked on his herd. When he got there, to his utter amazement, all 158 head of cattle, which he'd left contentedly munching hay, had disappeared. The shed was completely devoid of any signs of life. According to Coombs, there is no way, in the time it took him to walk from the shed to the farmhouse, that a whole herd of cows could have negotiated not only a locked gate, but also walked to a farm a mile away while negotiating hedges and more shut gates. Returning to the phone, a stunned Billy apologized profusely to his neighbor and rallied his sons to help him herd the cattle back to Ripperston Farm. When he returned to the milking shed, to Billy's utter amazement, his 158 head of cattle had disappeared. Ripperston Farm continued to be a hive of unexplained activity throughout the year, but they weren't the only family experiencing something mysterious.
So where have we heard that before about the cows? Skinwalker Ranch, remember? That they were crammed into a trailer. I've actually got the article that was written in a book, Skinwalker Ranch. So we'll play that in a minute. But I thought that was quite interesting. So how could you transport 158 cows? That's got to be a few tons of weight using a flying saucer. In the time it took to go to the house and back after a cup of tea, 15 minutes was it? And then the cows are a mile away. Somehow it doesn't make any sense whatsoever, right? So it's got to be something paranormal. So yeah, if a UFO was zipping back at hypersonic speed and transporting one cow by maybe a laser beam, or a tractor beam, or whatever you want to call it, I suppose it could be possible that it passes the cow through the roof of the shed and then transported to the paddock. Well, why did it do that? Don't make any sense. Unless it was trying to save the cows from being slaughtered by another alien race. It makes your mind boggle going on the story here. It's really interesting. So if you're doing hypersonic speeds, dragging a cow through the roof, bang, a mile away, drop, go back, I think you probably could do it in 15 minutes, 10 minutes or whatever. 158 cows. What's the other way you could do it? Again, interdimensional, right? So the cows may have wandered into a portal that opened up. You often hear on paranormal shows. And it sort of transported them a mile away, right? Which we've heard stories similar to Bermuda Triangle. And the plane was going through a whirly cloud pattern, and it was transported very quickly closer to the coastal line of Florida where the airport was, which shouldn't have happened. So the space was spent, and of course reduced the flight time. Again, it's nothing to do with space time. Just saying that you can have space that's bent and travel far a long distance in a shorter time. So I think Einstein's not 100% right, but there's, like, again, black and white in science, and the grey area is where the truth is. And I think it's when we figure that out and modify our science thinking to multiverse or interdimensional, and so say if the plane popped into another universe, right, and then it popped out, it would have changed the distance it flew, right? That kind of makes sense. but some crazy science has to be applied to it. So they're talking about Broadhaven. We've covered this before. Talking about another family here, but I really just wanted to focus on the silver suit and stuff. You can read the rest of it if you want to. It's quite a nice little summary there the guy did. So what was that called? The Welsh flap. Cows, 1977 cows and silver suits. I'm more interested in seeing if there's connections, right, that can back up the claims. So let's see, was that the one? Yep. So we're done with that one now. So if we have a look at the Skinwalker, is that the Skinwalker one? Hunt for Skinwalker, it's in a book. Here's the paragraph talking about the bulls, right? The corral was empty. Tom's stomach knotted. Each of the 4 registered bulls was worth thousands of dollars. They were irreplaceable. Tom looked into Alan's tear-stained face. They stopped the truck by the empty corral. Is that how you say it? Not too sure. And he got out to search for some evidence that the 4 animals could have left behind. Tom's knees felt weak. Okay, so let's pattern out the story here. There was no sound as he walked around the corral. Corral, wasn't it? Is that how you say it? Not coral. Corral. Let's see. What is that exactly? Is it like a 4-sided thing? Corral. There we go.
Corral.
Okay, so what does it say? Gather together and confine. Okay. Put or keep livestock in a corral. It doesn't show us a picture of one. Okay, oh, here we go. So it is a 4-sided thing, is it? Come on, give us a picture. Alright, there you go. It doesn't have to have sides. It could be a circle with gates, right? Okay, so that's what we're talking about. So you had 4 bulls in that. And what happened? Tom walked around looking at footprints. Animals had... I lost it now. Been there only 45 minutes ago. Alan was sobbing in the truck. His search rendered over to an old small white trailer located at the west end of the corral. There was no entrance to the trailer from the corral except a door that was tightly locked and hadn't been opened for years. As he passed the trailer, he glanced into. Tom froze. Alright, glanced in, full stop. Tom froze. All 4 animals were standing, silently crammed into the tiny space. They seemed frozen hypnotically and appeared to be barely conscious. Tom, with relief flooding through his veins, yelled loudly for Alan. At the same time, he banged forcefully on the side of the metal trailer. The noise seemed to break the silent spell. Instantly, all 4 animals appeared to wake up. They began kicking and bellowing to get out of the narrow, confined space. Within seconds, the 4 huge animals went berserk and devastated the interior of the trailer. Oh. Finally, a metal door was kicked out, and instantly all 4... let's see, all 4... Where did it go to? 4 and... I've lost it now. Well, seconds, the 4 huge animals went berserk. All 4 animals tumbled blindly out the broken door. So why couldn't they break it while they were trapped in there for 45 minutes? So who put them in there? I'm not sure if you've seen TV shows how they try to get one ball in the thing, but it takes them a few lassos and some working dogs, and it takes like 10 minutes just to put one in there, and then you got to sort of lock that one in while you put another one in, while the animal will be going berserk, banging around inside. So yeah, doing all 4 in 45 minutes, it'd have to be a close call, I think, without them destroying the door back then. So yeah, was aliens involved? Did someone manage to tranquilize them somehow and just walk them in calmly? I don't know. Shame they didn't have cameras back then. So that's in the Skinwalker book. You probably can find it online somewhere. I tried to read it as good as I could with my bad eyesight. So let's get on to that silver suit one and just round up. I've gone over the 2 hours I said I was going to do, but that's alright. Kind of enjoying it. People might watch it, I don't know. It's up to them. But this is the connections I'd like to see. See if we can read out a chunk of this. If it comes up right. It's got some funny going on here. So we've covered this one before, right? You might be able to recall the picture of the silver-suited alien. Now, looking at the Welsh one, doesn't that look identical to what they were saying? But is it 7 foot? So let's find out. See how it goes.
Including incident at Falkville, aftermath, and photo analysis articles by Coleman von Kavitsky / Official UFO Magazine Volume 1 Number 2 August 1975 excerpts from articles in Official UFO Magazine Volume 1 Number 4 November 1975 to 1973 Alabama newspaper articles about Jeff Greenshaw.
So this is the Silver Man before 1977 in Welsh. So obviously they either returned. It sounds like the same sort of alien, right? But there's a lot of strange things about this case. People again said it's just a guy in a fireman's suit. But you can see it's got the black tube here. And the Welsh one was running down the back. Now this one looks like it's going around the front. But is it going around here and then down the back? I don't know. It's not the best of photos, but it's at least something.
Police Officer Jeff Greenshaw's nighttime Polaroid photos number 3 and number 4 of the 4 that were taken. Click on images for a magnified view. Below, Polaroid instant cameras with flashbulb were popular during the 1970s as snapshots were processed instantaneously after each photo was taken with the push of a button.
Crap. Crap quality.
This blog article presents a detailed report and analysis of the Falkville incident of 1973, as published in the August 1975 issue of Official UFO Magazine, Volume 1 Number 2. This case involving an Alabama police officer who took 4 photographs of an apparent alien entity in 1973, is found briefly described at a variety of ufology websites. These comparatively in-depth articles, by experienced UFO investigator Coleman von Kavitsky, were featured in relation to the topic the 1973 UFO invasion, about a chronology of unusual incidents reported in the east-central United States during October 1973. There are also some excerpts from articles in the November Volume 1 Number 4 issue of the magazine. This data is presented as it was offered in the magazines without any redactions, leaving intact even alternate spelling of the police officer's first name as published, Jeffrey. Also provided are 2 1973 Alabama newspaper articles reporting about Jeff Greenshaw featured in the book. Beyond Earth. 1974. By Ralph Blum with Judy Blum. The reader should keep in mind that the author of the 3 articles about the Falkville case, Coleman von Kavitsky, 1909 to 1998, was director of the Intercontinental UFO Galactic Spacecraft Research and Analytic Network, GUFON. That is the organization repeatedly referenced in the articles. Some terminology used is indicative of the author's lengthy military career, and a summary of his background is provided in this blog article via an excerpt from the editor's foreword. These articles present an example of circumstances that can result with people exhibiting intolerant social consciousness when an individual reports some type of unfamiliar data not in accordance with one's assumed imperatives, concerning individuals covering up what is known to be accurate or potentially truthful information, or when a response is due to mistaken perceptions about what's possible in life, among populace ignorant about the knowledge being concealed. The series of articles commenced with this information, analyzed by Intercontinental Galactic Spacecraft, UFO, Research and Analytic Network. Dr. Coleman von Kavitsky, MMSE, member of the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics, AIA, and Smithsonian Institution NA. Scientific assistants, Deutsche UFO/IFO Studiengemeinschaft, DUIST, E.V.D62 Wiesbaden Skierstein, Postfatch, 17185 West Germany, Europe. Executive President, Carl L.
Overkill
Veit.
on the information, isn't
Copyright, GUFON.
Oh no, copyright.
Incident at Falkville.
Finally.
Time and location. October 17, 1973. Between 10:30 and 11 p.m. local time. West of Falkville, Morgan County, State of Alabama, USA. For Polaroid photographs of a human-like creature unidentifiable as of earthly origin. Wanted subject has never been found since by the state and county police stations. Photographer and origin of the documentation. Jeffery Greenshaw, 23, Chief of Police of Township of Falkville. Resigned on November 15, 1973. Camera, Polaroid color pack number 2. Size 107 black and white, color 108.
So you go from 4 channels
Copy
with no
negatives of the original
information, and this is like
reports,
overkill of
correspondence,
information.
and documentation are filed at GUFON archives. Profile of Jeffery Greenshaw. Jeffery Greenshaw, 23, graduated from the Alabama State Police Academy, was elected in his hometown as Chief of Police by the Town Council of Falkville, Alabama, populated by 1,200 inhabitants. The small town's police station is a branch of the Morgan County Sheriff Office, Sheriff John C. McBride. His familiarity with the subject of UFOs before October 17 was no more than that of an average newspaper reader. I had heard of previous reports of UFOs from the state and county patrol units. I had been laughing at the matter until this one night. Since I had heard of UFOs, I had been carrying a Polaroid camera with me. I didn't know what I run upon, or see, that would be of interest to me in my work, stated Mr. Greenshaw in his letter of April 17, 1974 to GUFON. The idea to purchase a Polaroid camera in order to present to the authorities photographic evidence of violations among the UFOs indicates he is basically a careful, conscientious policeman. His correspondence with GUFON headquarters, which began 7 months after his experience, is that of an intelligent, sober-minded individual who fortunately did not become influenced by crackpot UFO literature or become a space prophet.
That's annoying, isn't it?
He does not intend to write a book about his experience, but is presently working hard for a living as a carpenter. October 17th was no more than that of an average newspaper reader. I had heard of previous reports of UFOs from the state and county patrol units. I had been laughing at the matter until this one night. Since I had heard of UFOs, I had been carrying a Polaroid camera with me. I didn't know what I run upon, or see, that would be of interest to me in my work, stated Mr. Greenshaw in his letter of April 17, 1974 to GUFON. The idea to purchase a Polaroid camera in order to present to the authorities photographic evidence of violations among the UFOs indicates he is basically a careful, conscientious policeman. His correspondence with GUFON headquarters, which began 7 months after his experience, is that of an intelligent, sober-minded individual who fortunately did not become influenced by crackpot UFO literature or become a space prophet. He does not intend to write a book about his experience, but is presently working hard for a living
like
as
GUFON.
a carpenter. Jeffrey Greenshaw demonstrated at the site his position relative to the creature when the third and fourth snapshots were photographed. After a half-mile chase, the creature disappeared here on the road, said Chief Greenshaw. The incident at Falkville, the town of Falkville, population 1,200, is located in the state of Alabama, in Morgan County, between Decatur and Cullman, 22 statute miles southwest of the Redstone Arsenal, Huntsville. On October 17, 1973, at 10 p.m., an excited woman, her name withheld by the former chief of police, J. Greenshaw, phoned the police station and said that a spacecraft had landed west of the town on a pasture owned by Bobby Summerford of rural Falkville. Police Chief Jeffery Greenshaw got into the patrol car and drove to the area. He searched the suburb but didn't see anything. As he returned to town on a gravel road, the car's headlight shined upon a metallic-looking being walking in the middle of the road. Greenshaw stopped, got out of the patrol car, and made friendly overtures to the strange alien, but there was no response. The alien was walking toward him. Greenshaw got his Polaroid camera and took 2 snapshots when the being was approximately 50 feet and 20 feet from him. The creature came within about 10 feet of the car, then stopped.
That's pretty close.
Greenshaw took 2 more pictures. While Greenshaw was doing this, the creature turned around and began retracing its steps. Greenshaw switched on the blue light on the console of the patrol car, aimed the beam in the direction of the creature, and saw that it was running down the road heading south in the direction of Lakin, a town 3 miles south of Falkville. Greenshaw immediately got into the car to capture the subject. At this point, it seems, he realized that the alien might be a crew member of the reported UFO. His report to GUFON states, "During the excitement, I must have mashed the accelerator on the patrol car too hard. The car went into a skid, slammed sideways in the middle of the road, and came to rest almost in a ditch. I regained control of the car, backed it up, straightened it up, and pulled out of the dust on the gravel road." During this chase, the creature disappeared from view. Greenshaw searched the area with the car's spotlight, turning the beam on a pasture, fields, and a wooded area, but saw nothing. He returned to the police station, where he found the night watchman coming on duty. Later on, his brother came in, but both of them couldn't believe his experience, even though it was supported by the 4 Polaroid photographs. Polaroid photos number 1 and number 2, when the being was reported to have been approximately 50 feet, and then 20 feet away from Jeff Greenshaw.
Not as good as the other 2 photographs we saw, huh?
Analysis in the first place, to verify the general tactical behavior of the galactic spacecraft, we must be acquainted with the 2 divergent types of them. These are, 1, craft that react at once to any earthly action, and mainly avoid confrontation. These should be considered occupied and piloted by intelligent beings. 2, craft that react seconds or minutes later, their behavior apparently provocative. These should be considered remote-controlled sounds or crafts. On December 3, 1967 in Ashland, Nebraska, the commander of a galactic spaceship demonstrated to State Police Patrolman Herbert Shermer how a remote-controlled reconnaissance sound is launched and returned to the craft's control room. Case investigated by the Air Force and the University of Colorado's Condon Committee. Consult Scientific Study of UFOs, Case 42, pages 289 to 91. It seems quite obvious that in cases of hostile Earth visitations, the space creatures constructed a human-like robot for ground operation. The creature Greenshaw saw, according to its kinematical and psychological analysis, had a mechanical rather than a living intelligence. The creature was 5 feet 6 inches tall, tendinous and lanky, with a well-proportioned human body structure. He wore a shining, tinfoil,
unless one of them got the
spacesuit.
dimensions wrong, of course.
His leg was covered with a tight hip-length boot. On the hand was a long-sleeve mitten. The head was covered with a helmet with a short antenna at top. No feature was visible behind the rim-like visor around the nose and eye level, despite 2 flight light beams that hit the face area. The head was thought to be in the area of a rotating electric eye system behind the one-way visor rim. His walk and movement were stiff and noiseless, and no voice was heard during the encounter. The creature's escape route was described by Greenshaw in his letter of April 17, 1974. He was running in a very odd manner, from side to side, his arms down to his sides, and it looked as if he had springs under his feet to propel him. He could take 10 feet, more or less, at one step. I got into the patrol car to pursue. He was running faster than any human I ever saw. Kinematical evaluation. If one compares the 4 photographs of the walking creature, and its kinematical analysis and summary with policeman Greenshaw's description, it becomes vividly clear that the creature did have a rigid body. His limbs are stiff, and in relation to the trunk do not show the flexibility typical of a walking human. The position of his hands is quite awkward. The constantly spread legs, strained knees and slightly bent trunk suggest an uncertain balance of the body, kept upright mechanically. This is especially noticeable in his right turn in picture number 4, and is a definite sign of guided mechanical movement. His rapid broad jumping sort of run,
maybe.
faster than any human I ever saw, corresponds with a speed which could not be overtaken by a police car. This quick movement could be regulated only by remote control, which led and guided the robot back to the craft. Psychological considerations. 1. The creature walked in the middle of the gravel road, and did not turn aside, as a human would do, when hit by a sudden, blinding beam of light from the patrol car, but continued walking in the middle of the road toward the car.
But then it had a visor.
2. When the creature was 50 feet and 20 feet from the car, 2 strong flashlights blinded him again, and produced no change in its walk. 3. The creature provocatively stopped 10 feet in front of the policeman, and when 2 more beams of light hit him in the face it made not the smallest averting or defending movement with its hands or head. 4. It is noteworthy that when Greenshaw stopped shooting photographs and rushed to remove the developed photos from his camera, the remote control saw the situation in its proper perspective, speculated that there might be danger, and sent the robot back in the direction from which it had come. 5. The daylight control pictures of the location present on the left and right side of the gravel road.
Why didn't he try and
dense,
talk to
bushy,
it, you know?
leafy trees. No intelligent being, human or space creature, frightened by a police patrol car, would run half a mile along the road in the glare of a searchlight when there is a chance to hide in nearby foliage. Photochemical analysis.
If you were dressing up crazy and walking in the middle of the street, you could bet that the cop would shoot you, wouldn't you? Nowadays, anyway. Makes no sense. Shame there was no real-time video footage as well. Sounds like a real mess-up investigation, really, because he tried to chase it and lost control of the car.
Analysis. The filed copy negative of the 4 Polaroid photographs does not show that either the pictures or negative were tampered with before or after the reproduction was made, because of the following evidence. 1. The equally balanced grainy surface of the negative. 2. The subsequently filed color negative. The daylight photographs of the location are identical to the night photos and conform with Mr. Greenshaw's description. 3. The gradually increasing flashlight reflections at 50, 20, and 10 feet on the front of the creature. Why didn't Greenshaw use his revolver?
Yes.
When I was facing the creature, at this point I wanted to leave, but I was nervous and afraid to move. I didn't have time to think of my gun, because the metallic subject did not show any hostile movement. Well, I guess I did think about it. Greenshaw stated, but I was afraid of what might happen if I drew my gun. At this point I was all right. I just let things go, and then I took 2 more pictures. Aftermath. The terror begins the persecution of Police Chief Jeffery Greenshaw. The question that arises is, did Police Chief Greenshaw act? The terror begins the persecution of Police Chief Jeffery Greenshaw.
Scroll down.
The question that arises is, did Police Chief Greenshaw act correctly when at 11:30 p.m. he contacted the local newspaper to tell about his incident? The answer is yes. Where else could he turn? There is no official government-sponsored reporting center. There are plenty of civilian research groups, but if you have never read about UFOs to any great extent, you have no way of knowing about them. There does, however, seem to be a UFO harassment team at work. A series of strange events happened to Police Chief Greenshaw after his photos and report were made public. This well-planned operation led to Greenshaw's resignation and divorce. Why did this happen? Can it be that Greenshaw's evidence contradicts the U.S. government's policy of branding all UFO sightings hoaxes, hallucinations, and misidentifications? The following summarizes the terror campaign against Greenshaw. Police Chief Greenshaw's trailer home burned to the ground on November 9, 1973. Action number 1. Around October 19, 1973, a campaign of harassment was launched against Greenshaw, with threatening phone calls and hate letters accusing him of being a mental case, idiot, crackpot, faker, devil, and so on.
That sounds like
Action
GUFON.
number 2. On October 21st, 2 days later, his car's engine blew up. Action number 3. On October 24th, the harassment having completely disrupted his family, his wife left home and forced him to consent to a divorce on October 29th.
She took off, got away from that.
Action number 4. On November 9th, his trailer home burned down and was totally demolished. Action number 5. On November 14th, a final reminder, his obituary was placed on his car's windshield. It is remarkable that, during the time of these actions, Mayor J. Wade Tomlinson and all the members of the town council of Falkville were silent, and no one moved to stop the harassment and threats.
Because money's involved, I think.
Morgan County Sheriff John C. McBride did nothing. Action number 6. On November 15th, the town council called in Greenshaw and forced him to resign. The town council of course denied that his resignation had anything to do with the series of incidents that Greenshaw was involved in, or with the pictures taken of the creature. The government and the scientific community, in spite of the many eyewitnesses, injuries, accidents, and deaths, are not willing to admit to the nation and the nations of the world the facts about the Galactic Powers Earth operation. The question remains, who is responsible for the broken career and disrupted life of a young, conscientious policeman whose only concern was the security of his hometown's inhabitants? Click on images for a magnified view. The space creature photos are not a hoax. The defense of Police Chief Jeffery Greenshaw UFON and DUIST headquarters present documented proof refuting the claim that the Greenshaw photos are fake.
No, definitely
The
not
United
fake.
States Air Force Academy's textbook Introductory Space Science, Volume 2, Chapter 33, Unidentified Flying Objects, on page 463 informs the future Air Force officer.
Prank.
On August 21st, 1955, 1.5 miles from Kelly, Kentucky, Farmer Sutton and his son fired in close range, 10 to 20 feet,
The goblins
a total
again.
of 50 rounds ammunition from their 12-gauge shotgun and .22 caliber pistol at 2 disembarked spacemen nearing their farmhouse. The ricochets of the bullets had proven that the creature's spacesuits were bulletproof. Earl J. Neff, UFON representative of USA. Cleveland Ufology Project. The terrified Sutton family within a couple hours left their farm to unknown places, because the local police station declined to secure any kind of defense in case of repeated assault of the strange entities.
So this is a different case.
Surprisingly, as a result of the governmental investigation of the incident, the nation was bluffed and authorities said that the described creatures were fun scaring humans. Obviously no news writer got suspicious enough to find out who those fun scaring humans were, and why they repeatedly risked their lives facing the Sutton's concentrated gun and pistol fire.
I think with time
It is remarkable also that this simplistic statement was adopted as authoritative truth and reality by the nation and the...
See, if it was a prank, someone would have come out by now and claimed it, but like the Bigfoot one saying, oh, we're dressed up in a suit, right? The famous Bigfoot one. Gimli, is it? Anyway.
The military academics, in spite of the fact...
Gimli Patterson photo of the Bigfoot. And there's some big guy said he was the actor wearing the suit. I can't remember what his name was. So there's always, after time, someone always comes say, yeah, it was a hoax or whatever. A prank on the cops.
The fact that 20 years ago fully bulletproof dress had not yet been invented, only bulletproof vests for the police force. This investigation, demanded by the governmental cover-up policy, chose to discredit an innocent and dutiful citizen of the USA rather than tell the truth to the
when
public.
you come across stuff like this.
It bears a certain similarity to the terrorizing actions of unknown national security authorities, first to silence Police Chief Jeffery Greenshaw, then discredit his photographs. Procedure of an underground harassment team between October 19th and November 15th, 1973. The National Security Underground, by terrorist actions, totally ruined Police Chief Jeffery Greenshaw's law enforcement reputation, forced him to resign, then discredited the valuable series of photographs by starting the rumor that Greenshaw photographed a fireman's uniform obtained from NASA's Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama. In June 1974, Mr. Ralph Blum, author of Beyond Earth, Man's Contact with UFOs, defended on the MUFON and APRO UFO symposiums the validity of the photographs. Word leaked out that NASA's fire department had these impressive silvery uniforms with boots and helmets just like those in the photographs.
Really?
A friend of mine visited the firehouse, asked to see the new suits, and was shown something old and rumkey.
Yeah.
MUFON Symposium 1974, page 30. But because of lack of evidence, within a couple of months the chain of command completely reversed his statement, saying that Greenshaw's photographs were a hoax. On September 5, 1974, Mr. Frank Sikora, a staff writer for the Birmingham News, produced comparative photographic evidence for the public under a headline, "A Good Chance Falkville's Space Creature Only a Hoax." How the credulous public was bluffed. Mr. Frank Sikora, to discredit the reported visitation from space, met with the respected NICAP, National Investigation Committee on Aerial Phenomena, representative in Georgia, Mr. Marion Webb. According to the interview, he dressed in a NASA Air Force firefighting uniform, and, adding a little tin foil here and there, posed before the camera. He
so
then
that sort
presented
of
the photo.
Adds to the Socorro one too. Remember, it was meant to be two small guys in silver suits, and of course there was super silver suits mentioned, but later it was changed to white suits, a bit like what NASA wears now. So yeah, I think I have covered it before. I might have to redo that again and make a summary live show. I'm still not 100% convinced that it was actually aliens, that it could have been mistaken NASA employees. But I'll go over that again sometime, I think.
Photo as Police Chief Greenshaw's photographed space creature. Then, with a show of tears and deep sympathy toward Greenshaw, he suggested that Greenshaw had been tragically mistaken about the incident, and although he regretted the police chief's divorce, burned-out trailer home, and resignation, he suggested they were merely coincidental. The article was published by NICAP's publication, UFO Investigator, in October 1974 under the headline Police Chief's Nightmare.
Why would you harass the guy though? Because no one believed it anyway, right? So why keep harassing him? It makes no sense. And how come he didn't get visited again? You know, normally something happens to him, they have missing time and they get tagged. So that didn't obviously happen. Unless he hasn't said. Which we found out recently, the Pascagoula guy talked about another visitation in 93, right? So maybe that has happened, but they never talk about it, right? Because already they're broken people, right? They've been harassed. Why say they're still being visited? It's kind of sad, really, how the UFO field is.
Nightmare, real or contrived? Establishments 1. NASA George C. Marshall Space Flight Center's letter refutes the statement of the Birmingham News and the interviewed Mr. Marion Webb, which claim NASA's involvement in the incident through either the development or the use of a fireman's suit. 2. The Department of the Army Headquarters and the U.S. Army Missile Command's letter contradict NICAP's and Mr. Frank Sikora's statements regarding the alleged spokesman of the Marshall Center silver firefighting uniforms and the existence of an Air Force or Space Flight Center firefighting unit. Their denials prove beyond a doubt that such uniforms and organized departments do not exist, and that these allegations are concocted and untrue. According to the letter of the U.S. Army Missile Command, there is nothing unique or experimental about the suit used here. It is a standard commercial item readily available for purchase by the public. 3. Mr. Merriam-Webb's simulation of the creature in a standard fireman's suit has a number of flaws. A. His simulated aerial placed on top of the helmet makes it look more like a German war helmet of World War I than the creature's thin protruding aerial, with a glistening ball atop. B. The visor of the fireman's suit is transparent, Webb's face is visible behind it, and twice as large as the robot's one-way visor rim, which runs around the helmet. C. The creature's helmet has no
Doesn't
hood.
mean it wasn't modified,
It seems to be
though.
fastened to or built into the garment around the lower neckline. D. Mr. Merriam-Webb and NICAP repeatedly emphasized that the material of the fireman's suit is silvery, but this is untrue. The material is fireproof, transparent plastic. The clothing of the wearer is discernible underneath. E. From the flashlight reflection on the robot's helmet and garment, a conclusion can be drawn. Their basic material was dark with a scaly surface. The crumpled plastic material of the suit Webb is wearing, photographed from the same distance, 10 feet, gives off a bright, white, overexposed reflection. F. The creature's suit looks more like a custom-tailored garment, compared to the loose-fitting fireman's suit worn by Webb. How could NICAP say that Webb's bulky, tinfoil retouched and awkward rubber boots are strikingly similar to the creature's elegant suit, fine custom-fitting hip-length boots and long-sleeve mittens?
Looks like it's going to be a 3-hour
G.
show.
Webb, simulating the pose of the creature,
So much for
assumes a
keeping us
very natural
shorter.
stance to achieve proper balance. Such a pose is absent in the Greenhaw photos, in which the creature appears to be awkwardly struggling to maintain proper balance. The creature and the suit. Compare the two and you can see there is a great amount of difference between them. Even in the clipping photo, taken under lighting conditions similar to those in the Greenhaw photo, the difference is a little too great to say this is what experienced patrolman Greenhaw photographed at the close
I don't know,
distance
the hands
of 10
come up
feet.
to the same level, don't they?
Speculation A. Police
that
Chief
different,
Greenhaw
really.
contrived the hoax. 1. Is it possible that an intelligent, married,
Looks like the
ambitious
head
chief of
may have
police,
been
overloaded
modified.
with law enforcement work, would have nothing better to do than to concoct hazardous hoaxes? 2. There is no doubt that if Greenhaw perpetrated a hoax, the construction of the robot's garment would have required the time and secret cooperation of several people.
So what do you think on this one,
Falkville
guy?
is
You
a
think
small
it's a
township,
prank?
population 1,200, in which everybody knows everybody else, and especially the chief of police,
Maybe it was a
whose
ghost.
activity is always followed by the public.
A paranormal
Is
fireman.
it not remarkable that during the 1.5 years since the incident not a single lead has come to light
But
about
then you got to
any such
explain what the
associates?
UFO was as well.
Even Greenhaw's unfriendly superior, Morgan County Sheriff John C. McBride, and the town council of Falkville were unable to detect any of Greenhaw's supposed fellow conspirators in the hoax.
Exactly, they've not come forward.
3. Did policeman Greenhaw and his associates also manufacture the uniforms of the three creatures in the Pascagoula, Mississippi, incident on October 11,
I thought they might bring that one up.
1973?
But they were pointy,
Or on the same
pointy
night
heads,
as his
weren't
own
they?
encounter, October 17, in a visitation that occurred in Tifton, Georgia? Or on October 22 for the two creatures in Hartford City, Indiana? Is Mr. Greenhaw so wealthy that he can finance nationwide UFO hoaxes and keep his associates permanently in silence? Speculation B. Hoax contrived by somebody else. We advise Mr. Frank Sikora, journalist, and Mr. Merriam-Webb, NICAP's investigator, to double-check by personal experience how their suggested hoax works in reality. Hire firemen's suits from the neighborhood fire department, do not bother the arsenal, touch them up a bit with tinfoil, then face at night, on an abandoned side road, a police patrol car as fun scaring
And get
humans.
shot.
But if you were to be shot to death by the police,
Yeah.
obviously by fun, it would be very funny indeed to read in the paper that you, as UFO investigation experts, forgot to see first the fun scaring neighbors of the former
Just make
Sutton
sure you got a
farm
bulletproof
to borrow their
vest
bulletproof
underneath.
dress,
I suppose.
Letter from Information Officer on Station Area of
Yeah.
Department of the Army,
They
Headquarters
think the same
United
as I
States
do.
Army Missile Command, Redstone Arsenal, Alabama, 35809/AMSMIG dated December 13th, 1974. Dear Mr. von Kavitsky, this is in response to your letter of December 6th, 1974. I assume your reference to the Birmingham News of September 5th, 1974, concerns an article written by Frank Sikora of that newspaper's staff. Mr. Sikora interviewed Marion Webb of Austell, Georgia, identified by Mr. Sikora as an area investigator for the National Investigative Committee on Aerial Phenomena. Illustrations accompanying the article compared photos of an unidentified individual taken by Police Chief Jeffery Greenshaw of Falkville, Alabama, with photographs taken under similar lighting conditions of an individual wearing protective clothing similar to that used by firemen at Redstone Arsenal. I believe Mr. Sikora's article referred to firemen of the Marshall Space Flight Center, a NASA organization, which is a tenant activity at Redstone Arsenal. In fact, all Arsenal firemen are employees of the U.S. Army Missile Command, which operates Redstone Arsenal. In response to your request, I have enclosed photographs of an Arsenal fireman wearing one of the protective suits used at this installation.
I think we probably could leave
There
it
is nothing
there, actually.
unique or experimental about the suit used here.
Let's go on
It is a
bit
standard commercial item readily available for purchase by the public. Other large companies, and I believe several municipal fire departments in this area, have
Pretty,
the same or very
full on,
similar
isn't
suits.
it?
More than 20 are hung in the Redstone
Here's
Arsenal firehouse
spaceship
closest to our
parts.
airfield,
Let's
ready.
see if we can skim to it.
October 17th in Athens, Georgia, spacecraft landed on highway, and two 4-foot creatures dressed in silvery suit
4
were
foot.
welcomed by
Here we
Paul
have more
Brown
silver
with pistol
suits.
fire. October 19th in Tifton, Georgia,
Haven't heard
spacecraft
that one
landed
before,
and
have
humanoid
we?
disembarked. A final article by Kavitsky posed the question, how long can the public be kept in the dark, while the officials know full well what is going on? The following are some excerpts. On October 19th,
So we're not seeing these fireman silver suits anymore since the 70s. So, yeah. More Christians to Nazis again.
1973, the New York headquarters of the National Broadcasting Company, NBC, largest radio and television network,
Blah,
issued
blah,
an
blah.
interoffice memo based on a report from its Wheeling, Virginia office that Wednesday, October 17th, night, there were 75 to 100 sightings. Thursday, October 18th, there were 20 to 25. The newsroom there feels that
Yeah,
it
let's grab down
August.
there.
5. Detailed report of Jeff Greenshaw's Falkville incident alien encounter testimonial,
Yeah, didn't do it.
including incident at Falkville, aftermath, and photo analysis articles by Coleman von Kavitsky / official UFO. August.
Won't go down
5. Detailed report of
there. So what's the last bit there? Says, howdy to spaceman. What do you say to a creature from outer space? Hands up and lay on the ground, that's what shoot. Telephone to him. So it's repeating again. Flashlights landed in the field. Oh, scared stuff. Like a robot, so it's sort of repeating again. Alright, so, yeah, quite good article there. I'll post that on the side if you want to go over it again. Certainly more covered there than what we looked at with Robert, but of course we've got time factors there. And of course he may not come across this really good article about the analysis of the photographs. I remember we tried to struggle to find them as well, didn't we? So, analysis of silver suited alien, I guess. Just imagine if it managed to take off the hood and he managed to take some photographs and it wasn't human. That would be like the smoking gun evidence again, right? Even if it's on crappy Polaroid. So yeah, went really long today, but hopefully whoever watches it, once I upload it, obviously they don't want to join me during the live show. I have to do some bookmarks for it like I do on the other ones. It takes me a bit of time to do that though, but we'll get there. So yeah, I'll just close that one down, and still got more to talk about. Maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day. But the longer I leave it, obviously, there's going to be more stuff to talk about again, because it's never ending, and the fraud channel's knocking it out quite fast at the moment. So yeah, we debunked some, and some UFO cases that we didn't debunk, and we saw connections between UK and America there with the silver-suited men. At different sizes as well, unless they got it wrong. 4 foot, 5 foot 6, and 7. So yeah. So I say good night. Good night all. Thanks for watching Area 51 if you're still there. Right, all. Or me all alone, apparently. What matters is people still watching it offline, else I wouldn't bother doing it. But yeah, more interaction is better too. What other people have to think of that last story would have been good. But that's how the ball rolls, right? Me, I tried to give you the real stuff with real people analysing stuff rather than talking heads, right? Good night all. See you again soon. And here comes the end credits, hopefully. Hopefully the audio was alright. Hopefully it was just Area 51 having a problem there. But I'll have a playback and have a listen. I didn't notice any technical glitches there really, apart from the reader was playing up a wee bit. But it's not bad for free. Better get ready to end it. Still lots to do after we end here. It'll take me a few hours to upload it to BitChute and YouTube and do the chapters. And I need to have a shower, brunch, and lots of other things to do. Yay! But isn't it fun, UFO stuff?